have a new school or anything like that. Anybody could be going through, you know. That's what I'm saying. Anybody could have kids that are being bullied in school or any other situation. I'm just saying, but I'm not saying that you should provoke a bully, talk tough. This is what I wanted to say. I'm not saying you should talk tough and provoke bullies and criminals and tough people, you know. People in the street talk tough and provoke those people more because you're not provoking them. You're standing up for yourself. But, don't. I'm not saying to talk tough and all that. I'm just saying don't submit to the person. That's what I said. Don't submit to the person. Don't have to go along. You know. And if they brutalize you, beat you up because you won't submit to them and go along with them, they're going to have a serious, thing to answer for with the police. They're going to have a serious thing to answer for with the police department if they do that to you. Oh, no, I'm okay. I'm just getting the thoughts off my mind. I'm getting the ideas in my head. I'm getting my ideas straight. I'm just getting my ideas straight in my mind. But Sandy Linderthal, good to see you. Just saying that to get my thoughts out. But you don't have to go along with people. You don't have to do it. I'm just saying you don't have to submit to people. You don't have to submit to people. You don't have to do what people say to do. You don't have to do what people say to do. It's uncomfortable, yes, but you don't have to do what people say to do. You just have to learn to say no to someone. I'm saying talking tough and all this. I'm not saying talk tough, I'm not saying a person should talk tough. I'm not advocating people talking tough and all this stuff. I'm just saying that, I'm not saying people should be talking tough and talking trash and everything. I'm not saying you should talk tough. I'm not telling people to go out and talk tough, on the streets. I'm just saying you don't have to do what they say. That's what I'm saying. You don't have to do what those people say. You don't have to submit. It's okay to say no and resist. And if somebody brutalizes you because you say no to them, then you have the right, then they're going to go to prison. If somebody hurts you, I'm not going to do anything to hurt myself. I'm not going to do anything to hurt myself. I'm just saying that, you have to come to a crisis of belief in your life. If you're, a young person or whatever, I'm not saying literally kill yourself. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you got to find a way to get out of situations and learn to say no to people. And you can't just go through life to a young person, to a kid or a young person, teenager. You can't go through life. You can't go through life submitting to bullies. You can't just go along, do whatever they say just because they're going to beat you up. They use that against you if you're a teenager or kid. They use that against you to have control over you. They use that to have control and dominate over you. Just like Rosie O'Kelly said. She stands up for herself. But you do what you have to do in life, that you have to, carry weapons to school or whatever. I'm not saying carry guns to school. I'm just saying, even to anything to defend yourself, if you're in a dangerous situation, because they're talking about not letting people have guns in school or weapons in school. But, kids have the right to defend themselves against a bully. They have the right to. Kids in school have the right to defend themselves against bullies. And if it means carrying a pocket knife to school and sneaking a pocket knife into school to defend yourself, or carrying pepper spray to school to defend yourself, I'm not saying that we should carry guns to school, but, people that don't know karate and martial arts and kick and boxing, they don't know these. Well, it's not a matter. Well, not just that, Leah Sampson, but those kind of people can't be around. The big kids in school can't always be around you, and it's the principle of the thing. It's, Leah Sampson, it's the principle of it. That you don't have to do what other people say to do. That's the point. You don't have to do what they say. You have to learn to say no and stand on your own 2 feet and say no to the bully. You got to say no to him. Now, I'm not saying that you should get up and talk tough to them and talk trash and get up in their face and make it worse. I'm not saying get up in their face and talk trash. I'm saying that every human being has fundamental rights. Every human being has fundamental rights as a human being. All men are created equal. And those people in school, if you're a kid being bullied in school, those people are making you into a slave. They're making you into a social slave to them, whatever to obey them, to do what they say or not do what they say not to do. You not do something because you tell you can't do it. You can't go to the gym and work out in school. You can't use your school gym to work out and lift weights in the school gym. You can't go to the school gym and lift weights because the bullies won't let you do it. You see, they're stopping you from doing what you want to do. In life, you've got to stand on your own 2 feet. You've got to stand up and be a man or be a woman. You've got to learn to stand up and be a woman or stand up and be a man. You've got to, not saying face them, but you've got to realize that you have rights and you don't have to submit. You don't have to obey those people. You don't have to be under somebody's social hierarchy. In the world of men, sometimes the bigger men have more rights and the smaller men and weaker men are on the bottom. And you've got to realize these social hierarchies are false. Social hierarchies are man-made false ideas. The Constitution goes against the social hierarchy. The Constitution goes against the social hierarchy. All men are created equal. There are no real social hierarchies. Sure, social hierarchies may be true in a group of friends or socially. If you're in the, in the social hierarchy, you could be a top or nobody's bullying me. I'm just saying, it's on my mind. People that go through it need to know. I have been bullied in the past, but not now. I'm just, staying it in case I want to stand up for myself in the future, or somebody else could be going through it themselves. Young people. It's important for us older people to teach the younger people things they need to know. They need to know. Spread the word. That's what it's about. Yeah, sure, in a social crowd of people, you may be, low. You may be the lowest of the low in the community. In their crowd, you may be the lowest and below other people. But you don't have to be part of their crowd. In society overall, there are no social hierarchies. There's only social hierarchies if you want to be friends with those people. And that means you're just going to be the outcast and not be friends with them, because you can't be friends with their community because you're not accepted on their social hierarchy. To be in their social hierarchy, you will be on the bottom. But you're not on the bottom if you're not in their community. You just have to exit that group of friends, that group of people, rednecks or ghetto people or whoever they are, whatever kind of jocks or preps or whatever they are, these communities. You don't have to you don't have to be underneath of anyone. There was a guy that I used to know named Regis. He was half Mexican. This guy named Regis was half Mexican. And he was small. He was smaller than Danny DeVito. He was like 4'6". This guy was Mexican guy that was like 4'6", and he told me he was really backward when he was young. When he was young, Regis was backward, and he felt like, and he did what it let bullies tell him what to do and everything. But the stories I'm really inspired by is small people and dwarfism. I support dwarfism awareness. I'm not a dwarf. No, I'm not a dwarf. But I support the rights of dwarfs, people who suffer from dwarfism. I suffer the right out to equality for those who suffer from dwarfism. And I shout out to you guys, dwarfism people. You know who you are. We support you here in this channel. That's why I don't want nobody come in here talking about Gerald, okay? Saying Gerald's a leprechaun or a midget or anything, because, if you want to talk about him like that, you're just talking about him because you don't like him as a human being. As a person, you don't like Gerald as a person. But I don't want nobody putting him down because he's small or tall. Because nobody knows what he really looks like. He's like the Yeti or the Sasquatch. Nobody's really seen him. Nobody knows how tall he really is. I'm just saying I don't want nobody coming in here dissing the short people and dwarfism. Because I support dwarfism awareness. I support it here. And I don't want nobody, because that's like a group of people like blacks or Jews or Middle Eastern people or Assyrians or Oriental people, Asian people. They're a community like any other race or demographic. Dwarfism is a community of people who are born with dwarfism. And I support them. I support the rights of dwarfism. Dwarfism awareness. Shout out to all those good people out there, you know. And that's what's important in life. That nobody has more rights than someone else because they're small or tall or fat or thin. Nobody has more. We have to learn to say no because, yeah, dwarfs' lives matter. They sure do. Sure as hell do. And that's what matters, is that all people have rights. And those people, Regis, I'm telling you, he told me, he was backward when he was young and stuff. But he learned that he's not underneath the people. Regis learned that he's not underneath people. He's not beneath people. It's just that some people, if they think they're better than you because you're dwarfism or you're fat or because you're gay or transgender or a different race or a different ethnic group, they think you're beneath them. Sometimes people just think that you're beneath them. And you can't help it, in life. You can't help that people think that you're beneath them. You can't help it that other people think that you're beneath them. You're not beneath them, but they think that you're beneath them. But you're not beneath anybody, but some people are going to think that you're beneath other people. Beneath other people. But you got to realize in your life, just because you're a dwarf or just because you're transgender, you're not beneath other people. And that you have as many rights as anyone else, and you can hold your head high, strut your stuff, swagger all you want to. Because, there was a guy named Mickey on the Seinfeld, and he was friends with Kramer. There's another guy that Jerry Seinfeld knew. His name was Mike. If you look up Mike on Seinfeld, he was a guy, and I looked him up, and he's short, but he's not a dwarf. But he's small, and he was a good-looking guy with his head shaved and a goatee. He had a goatee and his head shaved. Short guys with leather jackets and head shaved and long beards. They're short. I'm telling you, just like a ZZ Top or someone that are short guys with dwarfs with long beards and shaved heads. Motorcycle, short guys, Short guy motorcycle. Wouldn't that be awesome if they had a dwarf motorcycle gang? Wouldn't that be pretty cool if they had a dwarf motorcycle gang? A motorcycle club for people who are dwarfs. Wouldn't that be pretty cool? They could find small motorcycles to ride and ride them, And real bikers and stuff that are dwarf motorcycle gang, That would be pretty awesome. That would be pretty bad to the bone. That would be alright. It's pretty good, They can do anything anybody else can do in life, They're equal. They're equal. They have equality as people. That's why I was watching a thing that somebody was doing a video about dwarfism on YouTube. People with dwarfism, yeah, they could ride mini bikes. That's pretty good. I'm not a dwarf, but I was shy to the point of being backwards when I was young. Fortunately, I never was bullied. Well, I'm glad, Leah Sampson, you have a better life. I'm glad things got good for you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you very much. But I just wanted to say that they could ride mini bikes. So Tasha went to that mini bike convention. That was pretty cool, wasn't it, Leah Sampson? Tasha went to Tasha went to that mini bike convention. It was pretty cool. I like seeing those mini bikes Tasha went to in LA and stuff like that. They was riding those mini bikes. That would be alright, wouldn't it? Riding those mini bikes. That'd be pretty bad to the bone. That's exactly right. That's the truth, It's just people have to come to a crisis of belief in their lives. They have to come to a crisis of belief. They have to come to a crisis in their mind, to the point of where they can understand their situation and understand the rights of people, Whether they're transgender, gay, dwarfism. In this YouTube video, people said, I regret being shy when I got older. Alcohol helped. Alcohol does help you, and it helped me too, Leah Sampson. Some of these religious people say you shouldn't drink, but I think it's okay, and it's liquid confidence, and it really helps you to open up. When I started living as transgender the second time around, the first time, Leah Sampson, fascinating fun fact about me, I didn't start transitioning. A lot of these people on YouTube that are transgender started living as transgender just 5 years ago. 5 or 6 or 7 years ago, after Obama. They started transitioning to be transgender after Obama. After Obama. After things got easy. After Laverne Cox was on the cover of whatever magazine it was. After. Yeah, exactly. But I started transitioning back in the 1990s. I was 22 years old, and I didn't take hormones, and I didn't change my name, but I started presenting myself to look female, and a lot of people on the streets in 1996 thought that I was a girl on the streets in 1996. 1997. And I would be around my family and with my family. People thought that I was a female in 1996 and 1997. I passed as a woman. I even stopped by a cop, and he told me he thought I passed as a woman in 1997 when I was stopped by a cop in 1997. And then I stopped for 11 years, and then I lived in the closet, and then in 2008, I started being a cross-dresser. In 2008, I started dressing as a woman, going to the support group, and to the transgender support group, and to the gay bars. Started going to the gay bars in 2008. Oh, thank you, Leah Sampson. Thanks, Leah Sampson, yeah. But I started going to the gay bar in early 2009. I started wearing a wig to work every day in early 2009. And I hadn't changed my name legally, and I had not taken hormones. I put my initials on my name tag at the grocery store at Kroger's. I put my initials on my name tag, JP. I put my initials on my name tag. And I had everybody calling me JP until I changed my name legally in 2012. I changed my name legally to Joni in 2012. And in 2012, I started taking hormones. I started taking hormones in early 2012. In fall 2012, I changed my name legally. So I technically did my technical transition in 2012. I've been transitioning longer than a lot of these other boy transsexuals. I've been transitioning since 1996, living as a girl out in public since 1996. And I went for 11 years without doing it. So that don't count the 11 years. But not the total number of years lived, but the longest decade going back further in time back through the years. I think Tasha Teeling may be the only other boy transsexual. I don't know how long Mallory Williams has been transitioning and dressing as a woman and living as a woman and dressing as a woman. I don't know how long Mallory Williams has been doing it. But I know Tasha Teeling has been doing it for a long time. I know she's maybe even been doing it longer than I have, because she's my age. Tasha's close to my age. So she may be the only other transsexual on Boyd, bottom of YouTube, that's been transitioning as long as I have. That's been dressing as a woman as long as I have. So, now I started doing this back when Bill Clinton was the President of the United States. Bill Clinton! I'm telling you, we can't forget about the progress that was made back in the 70s, 80s, or 90s. In the 80s, we had Boy George. In the 80s, we had Boy George and all the feminine gay pop boy bands in the 80s. You know, Duran Duran and some of these bands were just gay bands. And transsexuals gained legal rights. And in the early 70s, in the 1970s, they had episodes of TV shows. There was a transsexual on The Jeffersons in 1976 or 77. In 1976 or 77, there's a transsexual that was George Jefferson's old Navy buddy. And George met up with his old Navy buddy, and he never realized that his old Navy buddy had gotten a sex change. This episode of The Jeffersons is called Always a Friend, or Once a Friend, 1976 or 77. Rosie, Amanda, May, all OG boy. Yeah, they are. They are, but they've not been transitioning as long as I have. They haven't been dressing as a woman as long as I have. I started transitioning, dressing as a woman in 1996. So probably, I doubt that they've been dressing as a woman as long as I have. And so, that's the truth. I stopped for a long time, but I have experience. My family tried to have me what you call Baker acted back in 1997. That's what I'm saying. I was in the back of a police car. I was in the back of a police car in 1997 because my family tried to have me Baker acted in 1997 for being transgender. Tried to have me put in the mental hospital, have me Baker acted. I was so calm and I was so together, and I answered that psychiatrist's questions just like nothing. I answered the psychiatrist's questions nice and calm. I didn't fight the police. I went along with what they said, and I was coherent. And that psychiatrist said, there's no way I'm going to let that person be put in the hospital or be committed. They're not going to let that person be committed because that person is coherent. That person is cooperating. That person is going along. So that sheriff deputy took me back home. because they didn't Baker Act me. In 1997, I was Baker Acted by my family for being transgender. I started presenting as a female and passing as a woman in public in 1996. Longer than anybody on The Voice. I challenge anybody to say that they've been dressing as a woman longer than I have. And that's the truth. So, and also another fact of it, we can't forget, Renee Richards played tennis, was a professional tennis player. She went to court and fought for the right. She had had a sex change. Renee Richards had, and Renee Richards, thank you, Leah Sampson. Renee Richards got to play in the Women's U.S. Open, 1976, Women's U.S. Open, wearing her little dress, tennis dress, in 1976. You know, thank you, Jimmy Carter, for being a liberal Christian man Democrat, standing up for the transgenders and the civil rights back in the 1970s. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. We appreciate all the people that did what they did for us in our community. Renee Richards and all those that gone for us, thank you. We salute you guys. Giving us what we have today. We can't talk bad about the LGBTQ plus community. Some of those old school OG people back in the 60s and 70s stood up for the civil rights and we have today. We wouldn't be able to walk up and down the street dressed the way we dress as transgender people. You know, if it wasn't for those people in the 60s and 70s fighting for our rights. You know, they're like that woman that fought for women's right to vote. What was her name? What was that woman's name that fought for women's right to vote? What would they call her? That woman that fought for women's right to vote. You know, that's what I'm talking about. It's like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. You know, Marsha P. Johnson in New York in the 1970s. All of these transgender people back in the 60s and 70s, they were out there living their lives. Sylvia Rivera, Marsha P. Johnson, Felicia Elizondo, for being part of the Compton's Cafeteria Riots, 1966. Compton's Cafeteria Riots, Felicia Elizondo, thank you. We salute you for your contribution to the transgender community. Thank you. Archie Bunk? No, it was both. Archie Bunk, sure, he definitely came around as a trans. Well, there, yeah, yes. Yo, but it was Archie Bunker. But there was also the Jeffersons. There was also an Everson of the Jeffersons that was an old Navy buddy of George's. George Jefferson's old Navy buddy, and it was 1976 or 77. The episode was called Always a Friend, or Once a Friend. It was one of those two. Look up Once a Friend or Always a Friend. What it was called, the episode, something a friend. But it was the Jeffersons in the 70s. So there was quite a few. There was an episode of All in the Family where a trans person, and she was writing Archie's cabin, gave her mouth to mouth. I do remember that, Leah Sampson. I do remember that. I do know that episode you're talking about, and that was the person. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about with that Archie Bunker. I do remember that. So much went on in the 1970s, and they had that movie, Rocky Horror Picture Show. Came out in the 1970s, Rocky Horror Picture Show. People went to the theater to see that movie dressed in drag. To see the movie, to be a part of the experience with Dr. Frankenfurter. A lot of your 1970s rock bands like Queen, they're gay. There was a lot of things going on in the 1970s. We want to salute the 1970s, and we want to salute the progress that was made in the 1970s. We want to salute that. Shout out to all those people that were around, these OG people, LGBT OG people that was there before we came up on the scene. Thank you for what you've done for us. Thank you for your community. Thank you for the contribution you made to the community. We appreciate it. Billie Jean King was a pioneer. Yes, she was. Edith had lived in Beverly LaSalle. But Archie freaked out because he had given her... Yeah, no, I remember that. Beverly LaSalle. I remember that one. I saw that episode. Check out the Jeffersons, too, that I told you about. Always a Friend, Once a Friend, whatever it's called. And there was something else I'm thinking of, too, that was on. There was a third one. There was a third something. I don't remember what it was, a third something. I'll think of it. Anyway. Yeah, it's exactly it, you know. In the Warhol community, Andy Warhol, the artist, he had the transgenders and cross-dressers to be part of his Andy Warhol factory. you know. Hey there, Jesse's Tuna Helper Casserole. How are you doing? How's it going today? Good to see you here in the house today. I'm just rambling and blabbering and blabbing around and talking. Just a diary entry is what this is. This is not my regular channel with RVs and everything like that. All this is me talking personal and things like that. I don't do this every day. I tallied up the cost of my camper, of the work I've done on my truck camper. I've tallied it up. Okay. The money I spent redoing this camper. Now, I paid $700 for the camper. I paid $700 for this camper, but I spent $2,400 in supplies to redo this camper. The total money I've got in this camper is $3,100. I've got $3,100 in this camper. Yeah, I've got $3,100 in this camper. Now the money I spent on the camper is $2,400. I put $2,400 in supplies into this camper. It's not having something repaired by a professional. That's just the supplies I went out and bought. It's $2,400 worth of supplies to do this camper. That's how much it cost. Unofficial Chris Bliss. Yeah, that's what I was saying is that I spent $2,400 in supplies. In supplies to do this camper. That's how much money it's been. Now, it's not finished. It's not completely finished. But it's been $2,400 in supplies alone. Plus the $700 for the camper. And that's not counting that generator either. The generator costs $400 and something. $435 or something like that. Or $445 that I paid for this generator that I have. But you can get yourself an old camper and do it a little at a time. And you can have a nice camper if you do it a little at a time. Okay. Yeah, you can do it a little at a time. Do your camper up a little at a time. Doesn't have to be all at one time. I'm having turkey or ham. I'm having ham. Yeah. Hold on just a minute, guys. Yeah, I'm having ham. Paul Marcus, I don't know who you are. So I'm going to see you guys later, okay? Is Tasha here? I don't know if Tasha's here or not, you know. Hey, Tasha Teeling, how are you? How's it going now? I had to use the bathroom. Okay, yeah, I got exciting times. I had to use the bathroom. Tasha, yeah, Jonas Toonie Helpful Casserole. I think it's funny. All this trolling is funny. But, yeah. But good to see everybody in here. I'm going to get off here and talk to my mom, okay? Good to see you, Tasha Teeling. Good to see everybody else. Maybe Tasha can come on live later. I want to talk to my mom. She wants to talk to me. I'll catch you guys on the flip side.